Well, aloha. A very good morning to you and a splendid weekend to you joining us this weekend on the weekend edition of the Morning Express. Super elated to have you as we count down day 16 in the month of August 2025. How's been your week thus far? And how's your weekend beginning? Well, for us, it's been very eventful. We're here to do what we know how to do best. By the way, my name is Ikechukwu Juwe. As usual, you guessed right. I'm not alone. Jennifer Beautiful Pius is here. Good
Oh,
morning,
I
Jennifer.
like how you fixed it, Jennifer.
Yeah, but you don't put
Pius.
nothing on my name. You just call me straight.
Yeah, but I do compliment you, don't I?
When was the last time you
I
complimented
did that
me?
last Saturday.
And you said
The
what?
Saturday before last,
And
I
you
said
said
you're
what?
looking incredibly fabulous.
No, that's not enough.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Fine, I'll get a dictionary and find some words. But you're looking great.
Thank you. It's my signature.
Indeed, indeed. I won't say much. I'll just get more
Like the
words
beats,
from the
too.
dictionary.
The beats
thank
match
you.
the. But did you forget the memo? Because the memo was supposed to be last week Saturday.
Yeah, I did. I forgot the memo.
Okay, so we're
Yes.
good.
Exactly. Well, sometimes it's good to be different, and we're going to do things differently, looking at what the papers are talking about, while specifically analyzing the by-elections, which are ongoing in some states in the country today. And you know how we do it on the morning show, the weekend edition. We take our time to talk about issues of national concern. And of course, if it's happening around your corner, definitely would capture it on Morning Express. We'll take a break. When we return, we'll pan our focus on the newspapers. Stay with us.
Step into the heartbeat of the world where news meets real talk. From breakthroughs in diplomacy to humanitarian challenges and scientific milestones, Global Digest takes you beyond the headlines and straight to the heart of the matter. I am Amma Marcus. Be a part of the world unfolding stories at 3 p.m. on ADBN, channel 258 on DSTV, and Star Times, channel 140. Global Digest, your window to the world's current affairs, only on Advocate Broadcasting Network.
Well, welcome back. Let's get straight to what the papers are reported this morning. As usual, Jennifer does a fantastic job, in capturing the papers. So I'm just going to let her take us through that. But I will deny her the opportunity of introducing our guest. Our guest is a friend of the house, is a journalist, a publisher, public affairs analyst, many other things. Join us as we welcome Comrade Udemeabasi Udofa. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
Good
I'm
morning.
very happy to be here.
Yeah.
Welcome.
By the way, I was listening to the byplay between you and Jennifer. I've been looking for things that I can take out from her. Beautiful voice,
Oh.
beautiful visage,
Oh.
the costume. But I can say that she wouldn't say handsome because she hasn't known your pocket.
Oh.
It's the pocket that makes a man handsome. Don't you agree?
I like that one.
I would
I
agree.
like that one. But back in the days, we could have said men were handsome.
Well,
without
we
money.
now in
but
these
nowadays,
days-
a man is
It's a
handsome
monistic,
only-
monistic
Yes,
society, if you
the
allow
looks
the
have been
word.
monetized.
Yes, everything
Thank
is
you.
monetized.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Well, it cost me to look this good.
Okay.
Really.
We'll probe who's behind it eventually.
Whether it's
ADBN.
1 or 2 or 3 or 4.
Well-
Usually it's multiple.
Well,
All right.
ADBN is a part of me, so thank you. Well, let's look at the papers. And Saturday Tribune takes us away from the beauty and looks at the by-elections. It says here, by-elections, ADC, APC, PDP chieftains test strength as polls hold in 12 states. IGP orders watertight security. It is not just captured on that was Saturday Tribune. You can also see that across some other papers because it's
Nation,
happening in
precisely.
different states. Yeah, the Nation too talks about it. The Nation says, yeah, by elections, all eyes on Okpebholo, Soludo, Uba Sani, Makinde. The writer says, Edo, APC, PDP, ADC in show of strength. Another one says, Anambra, APGA battles APC for late Ifeanyi Uba's successor.
You know, I would have sworn that you were not from Nigeria. Director, please leave that because I mean these are names. Uba Sani,
Uba Sani.
Soludo,
Oh my God.
Makinde. Because I mean, you sounded like a white woman, Soludo, Uba Sani,
Oh.
Makinde. But let's leave that though, and come to Comrade Udemeabasi Udofa. Comrade, I'd like to ask you: the by-elections are taking place today, and all eyes are on, as Jennifer said, Okpebholo for Edo State,
Okay.
to consolidate on the gains that the APC has recorded since its emergence, and then you have on the other side the by-elections to replace late Ifeanyi Uba and some other persons. But one thing that caught my attention, watertight security.
Security.
I'd like to get your thought on that term because, of course, as journalists, we know the use of semantics.
That's right.
Watertight security. How watertight security? How watertight should the security be when it comes to the elections? Has it always been so?
I like to go soft on that for a moment and then comment on the Tribune. The Tribune says ADC
Battle strength
strength and all
or
of that.
show of strength?
I don't know. I want to say that that headline is biased.
Where did the airline come from?
No, I corrected myself. The headline is biased because it should be APC before ADC. It looks as if
ADC
It
has
was
strength.
intentional.
yes, has strength. As far as I'm concerned, it's an APC word out there. And then again, when we want to talk about where are other parties, where are the parties? Are we sure we don't have the likes of Zenith Labour and all of these participating? I know that they are participating, but let's just agree with them that these are the top contenders. In terms of security, whether it's airtight or watertight or ground tight or whatever, I want to say that INEC is trying to absolve itself from blame because these elections are taking place in strongholds of certain political parties, and each of the leaders of those parties that is in government will try as much as possible to make sure their weight is felt, and they would stop at nothing, including violence to ensure that their candidates will sail through. And it's a show of strength as it is. And when you come to talk about politics, you see some elements of some infractions will take place. So INEC and the police are trying to show Nigerians that they can protect the votes of the people that have gone to cast it. So I think it's a way of trying to say, well, we are capable. But then again, we should also plan for the next round of elections because we will need more than airtight security.
Or even watertight.
Watertight security.
You even mentioned ground tight.
Ground tight and all of that. So we should use this as a test case for the 2027 elections. We should try as much as possible to ensure that there's enough security on the ground to protect the votes of Nigerians, because this time around the stakes will be higher than it was in 2023.
Well, we're always talking about using the by-election, off-cycle elections to test the waters.
That's right.
And we still get to general elections and still have those hitches here and there. But do you think there's a possibility that we can have a near most perfect or civilized election in this country?
Well, I want to query the word perfect, because by the time we get to a level of perfection, then it means that we would have washed our hands from everything. But as long as elections is about struggling, our standards will have to be measured with the standards of where we're coming from. It's a gradual process. You can't say that security is perfect, elections are perfect. It's like progress. It takes time. It's not something that you can go ahead and say, yes, we'll have these and all of that, because it's a continuous exercise. Politicians will talk about government being continuum. So elections are a continuum. We will get better. It's about getting better. It's not about perfection.
But I would like to ask, ADC, they've become very vocal lately. It's as though they've replace the PDP and the other political parties who play the opposition. Will this present an opportunity for them to test that strength that the paper talked about in tribute?
Well,
Tribute, I beg your pardon.
I think that you are being a little political in that question. You know,
Well, it's a question, though.
you know, I've always said that it is not the one that makes the most noise that will be the one that will fly with the victory song. You know, I believe that these are places where APC has got solid footholds. You know, and for me, that is a governor in any of those states, I know that all eyes are on me, so I will try to show them that I am on ground. So I will pull all stops to make sure that I will I will plant my people there. I will put my people there. So ADC, they've been a lot of media attention. They've been talk about having an experienced politicians, which, as far as I'm concerned, I don't think it's a good political capital for them, because all those people that you are seeing, there's no legacy that they built except that they were rulers. You know, so I think that ADC is not going to really pull any surprise.
But then, if you're talking of solid footholds, let's pan our focus to Edo. Edo has always been, for a very long time, has been under the People's Democratic Party, which, of course, they have built a solid foothold. And the APC just came in months ago. You think that with all of the activities, the APC can have a name that people can trust in Edo?
Refer to my last answer. You know, the person who is at the top is on top of the game, and he will decide what goes on, irrespective of what we say here at ADBN TV. Elections are about system and organization and control. We are talking about politics of control here. So I don't think that the PDP has the power to be able to wrest power, because you're talking about concentration in particular areas. It's not like it's a wide election. It's a regular election. So they would pull on all stops to ensure that people will perceive them to be very strong. And remember, there was a time I was so boastful here that Edo is a place where there's a lot of enlightenment there. They've had all kinds of people there that people are going to be vote along their understanding and all of that. That is going to be a fair. I have reversed. You know, it's the person. I have reversed my opinion.
Okay.
It's because after all, this is Nigeria. It is the person that has the biggest money, that has the biggest organization, has the biggest has biggest control of the system.
But in the situation of Anambra, where there's Abga, the sitting governor, who is on the seat of control there is the APC in the national seat of power. In this case, the battle tussle,
you are envisaging some kind of
upset, perhaps.
Upsets, but it's an Abga governor that said he wants to support Tinubu.
That's where the issue is.
So the truth is there's going to be like a kind of trade-off, you know, in view of what I'm planning to do after, you know. But then there's still going to be, well, it's going to be a 50-50 chance that the ADC is going to maintain his victory run. Abga, the governor would like to. How many constituencies do we have in Anambra? I think about 2 or 3. So there's going to be some trade-off. Maybe one for ADC, one for APC, and then 2 for Abga. Oh. Abga is still very solid in Anambra because it's a legacy of the Biafran leader, Udemeabasi. And you remember something interesting happened during the good luck years. The information minister at that time, the late NAFDAC boss, Dora Akunyili, you know, she resigned. She was in PDP that time. She resigned to go and contest governorship in Anambra State. But when she went there, she registered for Abga. Though she didn't win the election, but at least it was a signage to the fact that the average Anambra man wants to pay tribute to their leader who founded Abga.
Okay.
So I think that the governor will want to preserve that legacy and possibly trade off one seat to the APC. But if there's one seat available, it's definitely
If.
going to go.
If it's good.
It's definitely.
But let's hold on to if Jennifer takes us to the next one. If it's good.
All right, let's look at First Daily. First Daily here talks about something different. And it says here, though a little bit of politics, it says, federal government blasts Canada court for tagging APC, PDP as terrorist groups. Now, we don't know the APC and the PDP to be friends. But in this case, they have become friendly enemies to tackle a single force, the Canadian court. Do you think the Canadian court has a good enough reason to tag the APC and the PDP as terrorist groups?
What is the level of our relationship with
Canada?
As there were residents, Tinubu visited Canada. Has anybody from Canada visited Nigeria in recent times? So I think that it's something that should be ignored. You know, you cannot talk about a national party that has produced a government as a terrorist group. If you call them terrorist group, what you should do is to show us some proof. I think that the time has come for us to be able to defend our sovereignty as a country, and then give them Okpebholo for Okpebholo. You know, if they want to, we should also look for something to label them, because even though it is said that you cannot go down to be a pig when you are fighting pigs, but there are sometimes in diplomacy that you have to also show the other person that is not better off than you in terms of brinkmanship.
Let us look at the genesis of this. It's an isolated case involving a Nigerian who have taken the case to the court there. Of course, it had to do with his experience, a Nigerian who had approached a Canadian court. Don't you think they should have personalized it to that Nigerian instead of generalizing because of his political experience to call these two political parties terrorist organizations?
That's what I'm saying. The truth is that before a court, which represents the best of what the country will offer outside, for a court to be able to make that kind of pronouncement, it's diplomatically very discouraging. You know, they should have personalized it, and they should have, before making that statement, they would have made some investigations to find out is APC terrorizing Nigerians. I've not really read the story, but the truth is that that headline paints a picture about the way Canadians look at Nigeria. You know, there's always been this the tendency for people out there to believe that we are living on trees, we are not civilized and all of that. And so it's time for us, and I don't know, what is the Federal Minister of Information doing? This is a time for you to be able this is the time for you to see what you can do.
Federal Minister of Information or the Foreign Affairs Ministry?
Federal Minister of Information working in tandem with
Foreign
Affairs. You know, this is the time that you have to give the kind of publicity that will replace that bad publicity. You know, you should be able to give information. You should be able, you see, public relations is not about reactions. It is about making sure that people get the right information and the right picture about a country.
Can I ask? You think it has to do with the way most countries are now placing travel restrictions? United States, United Emirates, Arab Emirates, and a couple of countries that are coming up with travel restrictions. You think
on
something
Nigerians?
Nigerians and Africans. I want to believe you're in Nigeria. You should be aware of this. But now the question is something wrong with our image that anybody can just wake up and label a Nigerian? Is something wrong with our image that the federal government needs to work on?
Yeah, that you got a point there. At one point, that our image was so bad that Nigerians will have to adopt Ghanaian nationalities to be able to travel abroad, because will I say the stench or the stigma on our country was so bad. But all that is changing, because we have got Nigerians who have dominated sports. We have dominated diplomacy. For God's sake, we have the Director General of the WTO. And then yes, we have Nigerians that have distinguished themselves in various careers, and so each of those people will represent the best that we can offer. And so we should be thinking along the lines of representing Nigerians on those channels, on those personalities.
You know,
but the truth about it is that things have really, the economy of Nigeria has really gone south, and a lot of Nigerians are desperate to get out of this Japa syndrome. You know, the people are running away from this country and claiming that Nigeria is in a crisis and all of that. It's the kind of information that Nigerians are giving out to people. So that's why the Federal Ministry of Information should work in collaboration with the Foreign Affairs to be able to give the right picture.
But then, if we think of the few bad eggs that have given the bad name, why then do these countries still accept the Nigerians to work in their different parastatals? They have people working in the hospitals. You accept these people, but yet you bring up travel restrictions.
That's what I cannot understand, because if you go to the best hospitals in the UK,
Nigerians,
you have Nigerian doctors, and we are known to be very IQ is known to be
very high.
Very high. You know, we stay here and criticize ourselves and all of that. We talk about the educational standard that is going down south and all, but when Nigerians are given the opportunity to go out, they excel. You know, so that's what I cannot resolve. You know, they can't do without us because we are up there. And yet they will come and...
I'd like to place on record, maybe people like Kemi Badenoch and a couple of Nigerians who are in, privileged position. We have Nigerians in, I think, Italy. We have Nigerians...
Some have won elections.
That are holding seats there. But because, I mean, look at Kemi Badenoch. She's really not being fair to Nigeria. She's been talking really, she's been very critical about Nigeria, even to the point that even some UK citizens, some whites are asking, are you really from Nigeria?
No, the truth about it is that there is a deficit in leadership. There's a gap in leadership. As far as I'm concerned, that's why I was asking whether the Federal Ministry of Information is actually in existence in this country. These are PR opportunities that are opening up to you that will give you leeways to be able to explain what is in the country. I don't know, honestly, this bad image, the trashing of Nigerians is becoming unbecoming, and at the end of the day, we wonder what they're doing there.
Okay, well, see, we mentioned the issue of restrictions. I'll skip one and head to The Nation. The Nation captures something about passengers being denied boarding Airways. It says there are 58 passengers denied boarding on British Airways, Abuja, London flight. I had to bring that up because we're talking about image here and restrictions. And we know how it's been when we talk of flights recently. You think this is also spearheading some of these?
I'm not thinking. Actually, what I think, or what I believe is that the owners of the airlines have genuine reasons why they will stop Nigerians from boarding. You know, I really have to take some of the things that I say back, because there are actually some kind of rascally behavior that some rascally Nigerians will put up, and it might either frighten or bring to attention these restrictions. So we'd like to know what made there should be some genuine reasons why they will refuse boarding, you know, and in as much as I do not want us to behave like one president in Africa, is it Mali or one of these countries that said, look, if we pay to go there, they should also pay to come here. Let us advise our people as much as possible to ensure that they abide by the rules of those airlines, of those fleets, of those countries, and all of that. Because you see, if you go to some places outside this country, you see that Nigerians actually behave out of turn.
Well,
it's not that the image problem arises from how you carry yourself when you go out of this country. Even at beginning of your journey, you should be able to acquit yourself with some responsible image, because people look at the way you behave and decide to form an impression whether it is good or bad.
Well, the explanation from the British Airways is that there was a faulty door. And why I had to bring that up is because...
Faulty door, Nigerians had to pay for it.
Why I had to bring that up is, would this happen in any other country?
That is the faulty door response is a cover for something that is deeper, and then we would know, like Ike said, why should it be? Is it Nigerians that should pay for that fault? You have a responsibility if you are doing business. Come, the amount of money that we are using to fund their operations is so much, so they should respect that, And then again, let's look at another side to this. All these restrictions should bode well for us, because it's time for us to sit back and repair this economy. We need people to sit back. People are going to disagree with what I am saying, but the truth is that we should not think that running to America, running to UK is the best solution for this. It's Nigerians that will fix Nigeria. So unless it is something that is very important, I don't think that I will leave this country. Man, the weather is somehow. And the camaraderie of Nigerians, I've been abroad once, and I wasn't very comfortable with
how you were treated,
how I was treated. You see the kind of prejudices that you have in those countries. People will just stop you and they begin to ask you for your papers and all of that. And you walk to a certain. Even now there is racial discrimination. There are some places you can't see. You get to a place, there are some profilings that. So unless it is something that I know is life-threatening or something, maybe something that cannot be handled in Nigeria, I don't think that and we have the best of schools. We have some very good schools here. So,
fantastic schools. As an addendum to what you said, before we go straight to the next issue, I think, just to agree with you, that this presents our leaders with the opportunity to perhaps do some introspection and look at these issues on how they're affecting our reputation. And of course, as you said, fix the economy, fix Nigeria. The president is doing his best. In fact, the DG of the WTO, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, I came out recently, had a meeting with the president and said, look, the economy is stabilizing. She gave the president his flowers, but of course said that should translate to monies in people's pockets. So as you rightly said, it's a clarion call.
But again, let's forget about what goes on high up, the commendations and all of that, because when the president or the presidency says that they've done a lot of wonders to Nigeria's economy, you see about 90% of Nigerians will be very livid. But the truth is that the president has done so much. And what about the other leaders down the line? Recently, the president said something about wetting the ground. The governors have the responsibility of making sure that they put the money in productive sectors. And even we, the citizens, must make sure that life is cheap. If we don't have cheap prices, in New York the other time, which is supposed to be the, a place that you have
perhaps conservative is a better
term. That's not what I wanted to say. Is the a place where you have the food basket in terms of plantain. So I saw somebody bring plantain from the backyard, and then I went to price plantain.
8,000, 9,000.
And then he said it's 11,000 naira for a bunch of sizable plantain. And
I said, asked him,
and I said,
how much did it cost to bring it?
They said it's transport. I said no, but
Transport
when I
from
was
your
passing, I
backyard.
saw. So we Nigerians must try to be good ourselves. And do you know business is about doing good and getting paid for it? But we just fix prices anyhow. And that reminds me, I should be able to call for price control in this, especially in places like Uyo and some parts of the East. Things are so expensive, and it is not because of the federal government. So I think we should tone down on our blame. The economy, there are macroeconomic indices that will make life easier for this country. But the governors, they are spending so much. You see other people, members of the federal house and Senate and all of that, spending so much, and yet that money does not trickle down to the benefit of the poor masses.
Perhaps we should re-echo the president's call to the governors to
we should look for another expression. I don't know whether it's to learn well or whatever. In time, we are going to look for another expression that.
Well, they pledged to us they would hit the ground running.
Well, they've hit the ground, but they're not running.
They're not running.
They've hit the ground, but they're not running.
That's right. That's a very interesting way of putting it. They should just hit the ground and keep
And
running,
keep running.
and start to run.
Okay. Well, First Daily still talks about issues on the Naira. First Daily says Naira slides to 1,560 Naira in black market, gains in official window. Now, this follows the World Trade Organization's
Ngozi
Okonjo-Iweala, the
assessment of the
DG
economy.
assessment. And she specifically mentioned that the president has been able to stabilize the economy with some of the policies that has been put in place. And now we're talking about growing the economy. Now we hear of this is the black market price, 1,560 Naira. But this doesn't translate to the different food items in the markets. Why do we still have this?
It's because we want to blame the foreign currency, the Naira, performance of the Naira. We refuse to grow the local economy. See, when we're talking about productive sectors, if the governors decide to put more than a passing interest in agriculture in the various states, this country will not do this country in the next 3 months. In Akwa Ibom, I keep on telling people that it is inconceivable that in Akwa Ibom State, we have arable land, we have good weather, we have an army of young people willing to work, and then 90% or maybe 80 between 80 and 90% of our food is gotten from outside the state. We have to go to Cross River. What is Cross River State doing differently? I think the Akwa Ibom State government should be able to ask. You know, in places like the West, the Awolowo regime tried to make sure that there was farm settlements in every place. And then they made sure that those settlements will have conveniences like electricity, good roads, and all that, so that local folk will be able to enjoy. And then they will be encouraged to go to the farms. That's why you hardly talk about food scarcity in Lagos. You know, we are not tilling the soil enough here, you know, and it's not subsistence farming that government should be able to put money into the hands of genuine farmers so that they will be empowered to increase their yield.
Okay.
If you say people are not exactly tilling the soil, some will argue that perhaps we should look at the issue of insecurity, which is also another problem. Because, of course, as we speak, perhaps as we look into the papers, the Yalawata killing seems to be going on. In fact, one paper was very categorical, saying the president's directive is not enough. So I'm bringing that to say that if you say people are not tilling the soil enough, some will argue that how will they till the soil when you have killers chasing them away from their
It's
farms?
mere politics. There was a time that in this country, people were saying that why the price of rice is going up is because of the Russia-Ukraine war. Nigerians are always looking for pockets of happenings to be able to use as a cover for high prices. The truth is that we know that in Benue State and some parts of Jigawa, bandits are doing
Zamfara
and all of that. Yes, we know. But
Niger.
But the truth is that can we have a homegrown agricultural policy that will make sure that will ensure that we produce the kind of the food that we eat? We're not saying import. We're not saying export. Akwa Ibom is my test case. We have so much money has been put in the agricultural sector from the beginning of this state till now, and yet we cannot say that this is what we cannot even.
Well, if you're using Akwa Ibom as an example, just months ago, from November until early last month or late last month, there has been policies by the state government to reward farmers who have gardens within their houses.
We're not talking about gardens. We're talking about massive cultivation of food items, cash of crops that can feed. Our mainstay is cassava. I'm yet to hear of the government spread where cassava is planted in large tracts of land for cassava. See, if Gary is cheap, every other thing will come down. But
Maybe you want to address that because these are the two staples.
no, we have rise in the local government.
Do
we have
we?
rise. Yes, we have rise in Ibiono because of the kind of soil that they have. But unfortunately, those people do business with people outside the state. You know, because government is not able to put money in their hands to. I'm talking about putting money in the hands of genuine farmers. I'm not talking about government sponsored farmers.
But the whole process has been incentivized so as to encourage people to go to farm. Because I mean, if the average Nigerian,
it's not everybody that can go to the farm, my brother. It's not everybody that can go to the farm. There are people that are farmers by profession. Those are the people that will highlight. Those are the people that will bring about this farming revolution. How many? At one point, there was a policy in Akwa Ibom says that civil servants should reserve 2 days. 2 days
in a month.
What does that mean? And at the end of the day, the government had to reverse itself and say that people were using those days to go to burial ceremonies. So the truth is that concentrate on genuine farmers who will take it as their job, give them fertilizers, give them grants, do the kind of things that Brazil was doing, bring technology into the mix. But government is just talking about doing cosmetic things and all of that, and then we'll still go to import food.
Oh, well.
It's laughable.
Well, there are other stories contained in the paper, just so that you know. Of course, when you approach your newspaper vendor, we are only paying attention to the very important stories making the round. There are other stories. I just needed to put that on the table. Other concerns in the paper. So it depends on what you're looking for. If you want security matters, you want economic matters. We talked about the naira.
Entertainment.
Everything. Entertainment. Something to please you. So everything is captured. So we're paying attention just in case somebody's listening and saying, okay, you're not giving us so much from other papers, but we are very particular about the news that, are making the rounds. So that's why we just, spotlight one or two, and then we talk about it. Jennifer, you want to take us to this whole flight situation?
Yes, indeed. I was just looking at that, and that's captured in Saturday Punch. Saturday Punch says here, flight fury. Inside story of Kwam 1, Emanson's pardon. The writer says how powers that be compelled Fuji musician's apology. Real reason federal government withdrew charges against female passenger. I've forgiven everyone, says Emanson.
God bless her.
God
bless her. How many Nigerians will?
Yeah, and one of the biggest questions across social media since the Kwam 1, Kwam 2 issue has been our reward system. Who we reward and how we reward people.
Emerson seems to be getting a lot these days.
That's what I'm saying.
She seems to be getting a lot these
in
days.
a country that a businessman offered a girl who had
manhandle, rough handle.
No, that's
woman
not,
handle.
No. I'm not. I'm talking about the lady, the little girl that was able to do some things about WAEC and all of that. If you remember that story. Yeah. And then we had people say that they're going to sponsor her.
Yes.
To even PhD and all of that. Businessman was saying he's going to pay for all our needs and all of that. That's the country that we have. We seem to celebrate people that are rascal in nature. As far as I'm concerned, well, I may be wrong in people's eyes. The social media fury is uncalled for. It's simple. Let there be an investigation into the cause. You see, we have a situation whereby we like to cover certain things, and that's why we have people running all sorts of commentary. Let there be a thorough investigation into what happened to Ibom Air and what happened for the Kwam 1 story, and then bring out the nitty-gritty, and let's look at it from.
Are you invariably?
But the truth about it is that what we had, especially in the Akwa Ibom, this was exposure, indecent exposure, all kinds of things. The truth is that this, from the little that we were able to garner, this girl behaved, the lady behaved in a way that was untoward. But a lot of people are saying no, it's the headline.
But maybe you should go listen to two accounts. I have followed two accounts
I have
of people who were actually on board.
Yeah, there was even one
and
that
they said She did not disobey.
So basically, what she did was a reaction.
Put it off.
A reaction.
It's on
From
flight
what had
mode.
taken place.
So it has provoked a conversation between put it off and flight mode, because I mean that's the very
That's why I've
fundamental.
even gone beyond that. According to some accounts, the lady was asked to put up her phone, and she said she is not familiar with the
phone setup.
the setups
Her
and all of
buttons
that.
are
And then
faulty.
given to the what do they call the air hostess, and the air hostess was
Can you
very
help?
cavalier about the way she treated this person, and so they started becoming rude to her and all of that. But does that justify why you will carry a gas cylinder to want to break some? She was unruly. She was very unruly as far as I'm concerned. And why didn't they do that to everybody?
Well,
Let's consider that. Why weren't they rude to everybody?
well, the truth is we cannot sit here and determine who was wrong and who was
right.
right. Okay, because there are accounts.
No, the accounts.
But from the
federal
accounts,
Yeah,
from the accounts, we can see
seem
both
to
ways.
be, of course,
There were
a lot
faults
of
both
the
ways.
accounts of which we followed
No, I'm following the
seems to
official
be
account.
vindicating her.
No, what did Ibom S say? And
Well,
did
is
they-
it-
Talk
No,
about
what actually
themselves.
happened?
No, okay. Are you accusing the management of those places to be spreading lies?
Okay,
Comrade,
comrade.
we're not about to have that conversation. Trust me, we're not about to have that conversation. But Jennifer had asked the very
So let's
fundamental
go to
question.
Kwam One. Kwam One was very justified in the way he behaved.
No, obviously.
So we're
That's why he
talking
was
about
made an ambassador of good behavior. So that he would not behave the way he behaved by showing others.
I like
how
that.
good-
I like
he was
that.
made an ambassador.
And so that people will now be carrying ivory flasks or gold flasks to be able to.
Well, if he was a lady, maybe we would call him misbehave. But
Misbehave. But of course, let's look at it this way. Two people have shown up on social media. One offered her a luxury treat with 500,000 naira and a job.
Yeah.
And another a person has offered her a piece of land and a couple of
opportunities
things.
and all.
But let's look at it. Jennifer had asked a very simple question: the reward system. All
And
the attention-
I've gone ahead to say that this is a place that in this country we feel that offensive behavior should be rewarded.
You keep saying offensive.
Yes.
I have a problem with that, comrade. I have a problem with that.
When you say that you were manhandled, how many people were on that flight?
Don't you think this brings the question, perhaps, hair hostesses and the way they behave?
Why didn't they do that to everybody?
I can tell you for free that some hair hostess, they bring their issues. Some. They bring their issues on board the plane.
No, why didn't everybody complain? How come the other people went and they were not manhandled? There has to be something that will happen.
Something
before
triggered
there's a
something. Something
Yes.
triggered something.
That's it.
You are called for a thorough investigation into this matter. I
Want to-
support you on that.
Okay.
But something triggered something. If we follow accounts, people were on board that plane and
From
they
the social media.
No,
I
no,
don't
no,
use
no,
that.
not
I don't
social
use
media.
the social
On a
media.
particular television station, one of
There
the
have been
passengers
interviews.
on board that flight was very explicit with the revelation and corroborated Emerson's story that Emerson was provoked. Emerson only reacted. There's something in law called provocateur.
Yeah, I know. But the truth about it is that there's a limit to how you can react
Express your
to
provocation.
certain provocations. Is it by becoming violent? And then you are asking people to use diplomacy to somebody who is violent, who is raving mad?
Perhaps you should also tell airlines and their aeros
Yeah,
professional.
That's-
because of the comrade, you will agree with me. You've flown. I've flown. Jennifer, have you
I
flown?
have.
Okay, so
Oh.
now the question is, you will find these people on board airplanes.
That's right.
You have very, very cranky people.
But
You have very, very
because of
unruly
Nice
people.
people.
But you need to be professional. That's why you're trained. That's why you're high paid. Air hostesses are not paid 50 kobo. And they are subjected to several training.
There's what they
One
call
of
a
those
potua.
training, hold on, comrade, hold on. One of those training is psychological understanding of the passengers. Should I go on with I could give you a lecture on this, okay? But when you come across unruly passengers, I mean, we're even well behaved here. International flights, you have
There are all
plenty.
kinds of
You have plenty.
good
You have
behavior.
plenty of people who are problematic naturally. But you see the air hostesses, they behave well. They take in all the insults. They take in all of those unruly behaviors.
But
and
when
they're
they
still very
cross,
professional.
but when they cross the line, you see that they will bring in some level of.
It's
reaction.
very rare.
Now,
it's very rare.
Now
that you hear that they cross the
there's
line.
There's something I have to agree with you. I have to agree with you on the issue of training, professional training. There was a time in this country that when you win an election, that they would take you to one place. I think it was it's in Plateau State or something, Council for Democratic Studies or Center for Democratic Studies, and teach you the rudiments of governance. And then we find out that the councillors, the House of Assembly people, and all those people that came at that period were well behaved. They behaved according. They had they established decorum of that period. But after some time, the Young Turks came into power and they decided to convert those things to workshop, hastily organized workshops, and something to put some money into the hands of boys. And then Center for Democratic Studies was abandoned. Even there's one place in Lagos that they train public officers and all of that. So we need to have, even in broadcasting, even in journalism, you need to have.
There's a broadcasting school in Lagos.
So, but you find out that some people that are not, you still have a lot of untrained broadcasters, untrained OAPs, and all of that. So it's not just the rot is not just in airline, but it's just that because of the important role that they play in the economy, there should be a renewed emphasis on training, so that the air hostesses will be equipped with the kind of leverage that will make them to bring out their duties very well. So I concede to that. But the truth is that we should also warn passengers that they should try to behave with decorum when they go to a place, because the airline has the responsibility of telling you the right to deny you of entrance, they say you cannot board or you cannot deboard, because when they notice certain behavior that is not good, that is prejudicial to the operations of the airline, they have a responsibility of holding you to account. So the truth about it is that it's both ways. The incidents that this has thrown up is that there's a responsibility on the part of somebody did not do what is right in the side of the airline, the authorities of the airline, and then these other people, like the case of Kwam. I think that it was very wrong for them to say because he's an influential Nigerian that they should pull off or pull him out of jail. Or
he wasn't jailed in the first place. He just had a 6 months ban.
So I don't think that he should be unbanned. He should be made to suffer for the kind of ruination that he brought on the image of Nigerians. So it's both ways.
Well, it takes us, because Jennifer will definitely bring our attention to
she's going to take the sexist part of it because of the woman.
We don't even want to go there. There's something, I want to connect something. Of course, you're familiar with the term alignment in the newsroom. I want to connect something. It's contained in The Guardian as we talk about people, image, and of course, what they are made. I remember one very popular musician, Naira Marley, who was arrested by the NDLEA on account of his use of cannabis. He was made an ambassador of how not to be doing these things with the NDLEA. That's why I talked about Kwam made an ambassador of behavior. Because when Naira Marley featured in the news about his use of cannabis, even on Instagram Live, on social media, he flaunted it everywhere. Of course, he had his day with the NDLEA. And after correcting him, and after he had been, made to face the law, they made him an ambassador of how not to behave. And that's
he was given certain punishments. Denied.
Well, I want to believe he did get some. I want to believe he did get some. But of
even
course,
some restrictions.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm saying this to say that the reason why Kwam, if you disagree with some of the actions taken on him, perhaps you believe they were being too soft on him. But people like that, you probably want to make them ambassadors, because if you have influential Nigerians behave that way, and you had someone who had become so popular for an unruly behavior in the airport and made an ambassador of how not to behave, how not to behave, then it is not wrong.
Well, let me help
economical with your own analysis. The truth, before you come in, man, the truth about it is that let Kwam one see the other side of his behavior. He should be subjected to the kind of punishments that
Emerson suffered.
That Emerson suffered, and then it is after coming out from this that he will now be made an ambassador. If he's made an ambassador by airline or whatever, is the marketing whatever organization. Remember the story of the king in the Bible that disobeyed God and made life difficult for the people of God. He was turned into
an
animal. Then he came back and said that there's only one God and all of that. Somebody who has passed through such a harrowing experience will now come to say, yes, I was wrong. And then people will now believe it. But in a situation whereby you just slap somebody on the wrist and say because it's popular, then you bring him to be the
maybe we're just following.
Selective justice.
Then you are coming to say that it's an ambassador of how not to misbehave. It begs the question.
Maybe we're just following the proverb. If someone is a thief, you hand him over with the item to protect.
But then again, you should also be familiar with the story that used to make rounds when we were young. I don't know how old you are these days, but the truth about it is that there's a story about how the tortoise went to steal in the in-laws' place, and then the in-law tied him up to a stake, and then the people from his quarter passed and said, "Tortoise, what's your problem?" He said, "My in-law tied me, and he says I have to be punished for stealing his yam." And then they say, yes, it's good for you, on the way to the market. In the evening, when they came back and saw that the tortoise was
still tied,
they say, tortoise, are you? No, they said, the tortoise said, no, I'm still here. We say, what is his problem, sir? After all, the yam that you stole, you were going to eat it with his daughter. So this man, in fact, this man is a wicked person and all of that. So I think that story defines the way we are doing things in this country. We don't want to be seen as overly oppressive on people, and then we also then Nigerians will also be the ones that will turn around to say, but you should have allowed him, you should have given him some slack. So it's a kind of balancing act. Sometimes I pity leadership, but the truth about it is that in a country where people are not made to account for their behavior, it puts a lot of danger.
Okay. All right. Ahead. The Guardian says here how global cannabis boom fuels illicit drugs use in West Africa. I don't know why I had to link that up with the Guardian's cannabis story. I'll leave that to you. Give it to me. I'll leave that to you. Give it to me. Go ahead.
Okay, so this issue of cannabis, we do know that in some countries they legalized it for medical purpose, but of course there's a drug industry in itself where it's causing a lot of problems. Let's look at it. Cannabis sativa, in the way that it is. Let's bring it to Nigeria. You think our law should be perhaps more stringent in this area? Because almost everyone, if you go to some places, they have a farm for it.
I have lived in communities, environments where cannabis is
everyday
distributed and smoked on a daily, regular basis. One of the things I noticed is that there was no growth in that place. There was a lot of societal challenges. You had a lot of people behaving unseemingly, and then you had some kind of rogue behavior. They will go. That place was actually safe because the people will go because when you are on drugs, after that you need to eat. You need to service yourself, They will go and steal somewhere else, but they will make sure that that place is where they live is protected because, guy man,
the guy where in there.
So the truth about it is that no matter how you're going to justify it, in Nigeria, cannabis is responsible. Regular use of cannabis is responsible for the kind of behavior that we're seeing among the people. I don't know why they will not stop at drinking beer. They have to stop. They have to go up to cannabis, and after that, they look for something that is more potent.
More higher.
you know, and all of that. That's why we have a lot of rascality.
It's a global thing, yeah, because if you look
no,
at
but
the
you are
Guardian,
saying that
I'm looking at stringent laws. We should be more stringent.
No, you are saying in some countries.
There's some level of legality to it
there's
for
some
medical
level of,
use.
for medical use. I know that some of the drugs that we take in Nigeria, those prescription drugs, have cannabis, but it is controlled. But the truth about it is that this is Africa. We cannot in any way become very lax about drug use. The people that made history, the people that gave us these legacies that we've come to see, were not drug takers. And so we should not allow our children and this the present generation to be destroyed by drugs.
Well,
so
I mentioned stringent laws. I like to capture still another story from The Guardian. The Guardian says here, NDLEA, Agric Ministry, partner on alternatives to cannabis farming, rehabilitation of illicit drug users. Rehabilitation of illicit drugs.
Can we even stop the farming altogether?
No, the truth about it is that, see, the government is working on a tightrope. If you delegislate it, if there's a word like that, if you allow some people to do it, it's bad for the society. Then if you stop it completely, it's going to be like the story of the man that was healed of a 38-year-old ailments. An account said that people were saying, okay, now that you have been healed, what are you going to do to put food on your table? He said, go and learn a trade. He said, at this age. So what we should do is a situation whereby you have to rehabilitate them. The alternative for cannabis farming does not mean that you are going to bring in a softer drug. It's to, will I say, recalibrate the thinking of these people that instead of planting cannabis, you can use your skills in maybe planting tomatoes and all of that, even though it might not bring the
cannabis.
One lady I interviewed, you know, that was always selling this concoction that you have to put in illicit gin and all of that. That, you know, these places that you go and they say this one is for malaria, this one is for this and all of that. The drugs, they take a lot of drugs in those areas, and it rubbishes the environment. It's not a place. Those places are not scenes that you can bring up children. So I went to ask her, why are you taking this? Why are you selling these things? Because she kept on complaining that those people have been disturbing her. Police has been coming. He said, Oga, there's so much money to be made in this thing. So the same thing with cannabis growers and all of that. You have to reroute them into other areas where they can make money, because it's a money-making thing. They are not emotional about. They don't care about what their products are doing to the generality of the people. So you can route them into areas where money can enter their hands. If sometimes the government can, as a matter of social responsibility, give them grants, give them things that will make them happy.
Well, it's not just people who might farm. Now we see that even mentally, people who act as though they are mentally derailed on the streets, beggars, also are recruited to go into these sales of hard drugs, and they make a lot of money. And so we find people on the streets daily. Aren't there measures that can be taken to strictly ensure that the farmers of the cannabis can be restricted to where and when and who they make sales to?
Well,
Isn't
the
that
thing
possible?
is, I had been very categorical with the question I asked. If we agree that the merits outweighs the merits of this cannabis farming, should we altogether stop the farming of cannabis?
No, I think that question has a catch in it. You know, until I know where you are coming from or why you ask the question, I will not attempt, because it's the dilemma that we found ourselves. If you stop it completely, what alternative would you provide? What alternative would be? It's like what is happening in Uyo. You drive people away from the plaza and they keep coming. You keep shooting them. You keep toxifying the place and all of that. And then people are asking, they say, those people do not have any place to go. Give them an alternative place to sell, to display their products. And people are saying, that the way they talk us is not, we can't make money, that we make money in open places, in places that are central. So when you say you stop it, number one, you have a problem of making sure that you won't be able to catch up to 50% of them. And then there's going to be a hike in the sales of that is the prices of these offerings that they put in the market. And then so you should find an alternative. That's why you have to reroute their own business into productive areas, into areas that are healthy, something that can put money in their hands.
All right.
It's like going to say you stop armed robbery, or you stop weapons sales and all of that. I know that there are people that sell ammunitions that will start conflict in areas so that they can sell. Now, you want to stop them from doing it, you have to look for something that is as profitable, yes, as that. Otherwise, they won't be dissuaded. So that's why I'm talking about government trying to rehabilitate them, trying to recalibrate their business consciousness by even putting money in their hands and rerouting them from these areas.
Perhaps as we conclude,
it's like saying encourage farmers to grow, and then you buy back some of the products.
I like that. I like that. If we agree that there is a medical use to it, and you're talking about rerouting, perhaps we should come up with an alternative. Yes, you can farm, but the federal government becomes the largest off-taker of this, so that it is used for a better alternative.
But then
medical use, perhaps.
No, but then because of the corrupt situation of the country, there will still be loose ends. There will still be people that will be filtering the system it will be leaking to those people that will be selling raw to the drug users and all of that.
You talked about the dilemma here. So this is a dilemma in
itself.
itself.
So you need to have to monitor it very well. Do you have the device, whatever to monitor them so that you will be able to control the trade?
It's a big problem.
Sincerely. I don't know what else to say. Let's look at Saturday Independence. Saturday Independence looks at the education sector. It says here, lion in silhouette. Saturday Independence. UNN's silent struggle with infrastructure decay. We've always known the big name of UNN. They talk about UNN. And in fact, at some point, I used to feel really envious and jealous of people who always talk about I'm from UNN. Oh, you didn't go to UNN.
You have the right.
Gentlemen,
yeah,
we're missing
so
one
much
thing for me
noise
that I'm very interested in. I'm an English major. I like English. Silhouette.
Yeah.
Lion
in silhouette.
Very creative use of a very grievous situation. And Jennifer's talked about the fact that UNN used to be one of those prestigious.
So much name.
You talk about UNN.
No, it has a name recognition value that is above every other.
Sincerely.
And I agree. Even not for anything, I have a relationship. My son went to
okay,
UNN.
now you
So
have
he's
to
a
bring
lion,
that up.
So I could also say that I have an affinity with it. You see, but the truth is that there are some the ambience in that school, in that institution. I've been there a couple of times. 2 times. Is the one that cannot be replicated, that you cannot find everywhere. It's just like going to UI. You go there, they will, or University of Lagos. In fact, UI, you go there, if there's water scarcity in the place and people do not have enough water to drink.
It'll make headlines.
No. They will, and then they have some water. The priority will be how to water the flowers and not even the human beings. Because that place must be kept. It's the only university that pays a lot of attention to aesthetics. So you go to UNN. Nsukka is a very rustic village. Outside the university, there's nothing else in Nsukka. It's one forsaken place and all of that. But the university is one of those places that the tower is still in the ivory. Most of these universities, like the local universities you have, they still have the tower, but the ivory has broken. So the truth about it is that you go to, they still have big buildings and all of that, but it's just the maintenance. The maintenance, that's why they're struggling with infrastructure. And it is because of the leadership, what did I call it the last time? Will I say rascality of leadership or neglect? You pump so much money. There's this agency that pumps money into finances university education, gives them infrastructure. I've forgotten.
TED Fund?
The TED Fund and all of that. You wonder, the number of people that go to University of Nigeria, Nsukka, it's a big bubble that absorbs a lot of Nigerians.
You think the recent move by the federal government to the 7-year ban,
at least for 7 years,
yes, on
no
building
licenses.
more tertiary institutions, polytechnics, and all of colleges of education?
It's a cosmetic
you think
approach.
that
It's a cosmetic approach. It is not going to help the leadership gap. The leadership gap in education. See, education is not about budgeting. It's about knowing what to do with the funds that you have. People complain, the amount of money that is in the education sector is not compared to the amount of money that is in security and all of that. And they want to pitch it against the other.
But there's a United Nations standard.
But the truth about it is that with the money that you have, what have you done so far? It's not, you have to maintain the infrastructure.
Who should maintain?
Because there are some
Who should maintain these infrastructures?
I don't know why you're asking that question.
Well, I'm asking the question. You say you have to. Is it the
It depends on the
that will
arrangement.
maintain, or the school authorities?
It depends on the arrangement that is on ground. Is their business. But the truth about it is that when you have collapsing infrastructure, the cry is always going to the government, because the universities are not generating enough revenue to take care of the services that are
There are
offered.
tuition fees and some other fees that they get monies.
No, how do you
these
know?
monies are not remitted.
How do you know that is enough for them to embark on infrastructure repair?
Well, I'm glad that you mentioned your son. You spent good money sending your son to school, didn't you?
Not compared to the kind of money that they are charging in private universities and the university that you attended. Because the way I look at you now, it looks
Well, let's not go there.
You exposed him.
Let's not go there. Let's not go there. Please.
Okay,
But there's something I think we should end with. Two issues that I think we should end with, if you ask me. It's in the weekend trust.
No.
The two issues that I would like for us to. But Jennifer, you look like something is about to come out of your mouth, and I'm denying you the opportunity. So go ahead, please.
Well, I don't know, but let me do the honors. Weekend trusts. It says how APC coerces opposition politicians. Coerces. Is that the word that should be used?
I don't know for the editors. I don't know for the editors. Well, you see that it's in parentheses, coerces. The question is could be bribed, could be they are bribed, or they are promised a lot of incentives and all of that. And now put the situation around. If the opposition politicians were in power, wouldn't they do even worse? I think that puts a bet on the elite on the question.
Okay, let me look at the other one still on
Does
weekend
APC
trust.
actually coerce opposition?
That's what we're
Does
saying.
it?
That's what we're saying. If you put them in the other side, if you reverse the situation, will it be different?
Okay. Well,
see, in politics, it's a winner takes all thing. Unfortunately, in Nigeria, it doesn't matter whether the populace, the general populace, is disenfranchised or is denied.
This other story on Weekend Trust, I'm very interested. Reviving textile without cotton. Why efforts fail. We're talking about Nigeria's situation and projecting Nigeria First. We had mentioned it, I think, last week, and we talked about
Nigeria First policy.
Nigeria First policy. And we're looking at reviving textile without cotton. We know back in the days, in fact, we're taught that in school. When we look at exports, you say the North is known for exporting cotton. But today, we don't hear of such stories. Cotton, and then the textile industries are gradually becoming obsolete. There is almost no story coming from our Nigerian textile.
In this country, we had a refinery where there was no oil.
Oh, wow.
We've always had oil. We've always had oil.
Where we had a refinery. I don't want to mention the place, and they would say it's me that mentioned it.
Okay.
I had a big refinery, and then there was no oil to refine. You have to take oil from Lagos and from the south to wherever, so it happens.
Well, if you ask me, if the director can just project on the screen, I like the infographics. I like the work that We Can Trust has done
Very
in talking
admirable.
about. Yeah, I mean, just flash that on the screen, director, please. Reviving the textile without cotton. It goes ahead to talk about the textile industry in the 80s. Textile companies
That's where
employed
she was
about
going.
750,000. It went
Wow.
ahead with an explainer, an infographics that typically captures
Contributed
what we're talking about.
25% to
Exactly,
the GDP.
and what we're losing. But you think
You can't be buying cotton to fuel your textile companies. The material should be homegrown. You should have
maybe people don't found that no more.
So you can't do that. You can't have that. You cannot have that. As I said, there was a time in this country that you had a big refinery in a place where there was no crude. You couldn't refine.
But the question
No,
I
let's
asked,
stay on it. So let's stay on it. The truth about it is that the essence of citing industries,
closeness to raw material.
close to raw materials, is to be able to maximize on the gains. But when you're talking about reviving the
textile industry
without cotton, what are you?
That's what
are
I'm
you
talking about. That maybe people don't find that no more. We used to know the cash crops back in the days. Cocoa was one of them. Cotton was one of them.
It's because
people don't
of
do, now we're talking about farming of cannabis.
No, it's the leadership deficit that we are we've encountered in our public institutions. People don't care about doing what is right. A lot of all they care is allocating money into various subsectors, but the actual planting, the actual cultivation is not there.
Okay, this let
Bring
me see,
technology
let me,
into it, and then you see that
let me
the
still
thing will
read
be resuscitated.
from the infographic. It says some revival strategies of the textile industry. 100 billion naira cotton, textile, and garment fund in 2009. Those are revival strategies. And then establishment of a cotton, textile, and garment development board. Federal government anchor borrowers program in 2019 and 2020. These are revival strategies. 100 billion
But
is
yet
a
it
whole
fails.
lot of money. But yet
We
we've
can
not
afford
seen
it. We in
tangible in what?
It's affordable. That is, is it in place already?
This was done in 2009.
So you've not seen tangible progress in that area.
Not at all.
That
Is
is
the federal government investing in the wrong areas? Are we approaching the revival of the textile industry wrongly?
Sir, there's a paper mill in Okpebholo. In some countries in Europe, they have that mill and they survive on it. You understand? That's why the people that established that mill were very, very. They thought they had their thinking caps forward. They planted a lot of melina trees and all of that in Akampa,
Close to where these industries are.
Yes, but all of a sudden, that mill went the way of other industrial institutions. Nobody cared. In Ukana, we had Sunshine Batteries. Ikotekbene, we had the biscuit industries. We even have paint. See, it's a leadership failure. It's a leadership deficit. The focus became on importation. We became an importing country. So if the press can reawaken the economic introspection in Nigeria, that's fine. And I am happy that the Tinubu administration is a listening government. So if they can go back to what used to happen in the 1980s, the 1970s and 80s, is going to bode well for the country.
Just to add to what you said, I think it was 2 or 3 days ago, the president mentioned this thing about the textile industry and the move by this administration to try and revive it. But we do hope that it will not be just like every other administration and promised.
They should have the political will to be able to finance that
and even be more direct.
All right. Thank you very much, Comrade Udemeabasi Udofa, for coming on Morning Express and the time you've taken to analyze the papers with us. We appreciate that.
Thank you again, Comrade.
I'm always happy to be around you people. God bless you.
God bless you too.